Well, greetings everybody and welcome to yet another edition of the Inworld Review where, believe it or not, we're already at the 1st of November of the grand old year 2014. We're broadcasting live from Chilbo in Second Life and we're brought to you in association with AVTV. And no special guests today. We're going to, we're all exhausted because we've been at the Open Simulator Community Conference rehearsal, dress rehearsal, whatever you want to call it, plus a stress test. I think it's a Melbourne stress test, actually, but that's another. So it's all been a bit of a panic. And also, I can't tell you immediately this week what our arrangements next week are going to be, because at this very time next week, the Open Source Community Conference will be underway. But we will be recording a show of some sort at some point over the weekend, and we'll bring that to you in due course. Anyhow, we are here this week, and of course we've got a bountiful amount of news, I think, and particularly where the Open Source Community Conference is concerned. But I'm just going to open up my browser and go just to a few links that are not pointing type business, basically, of general interest. I would like to remind you, you can follow me on twitter.com/Malburns, or one word, or Second Life stuff. You can follow me at twitter.com/Malburns_writer. However, because we have had slight problems getting a lot of stuff up on here to live stream, for our full week in review stuff, I have actually started posting daily blogs with new incoming videos and pictures and magazines and all the general stuff. So if you're interested in Second Life and stuff like that, you can find all the links at malburns.tumblr.com. That's Tumblr as in TUMBR. So it's my own Tumblr blog full of videos, pictures, and magazines, and a few things that end up on Twitter. The Twitter stream does actually have a few extra things that don't, for one reason or another, get to the Tumblr stream. And also Malburns Annex, or one word, .blogspot.com. All the more serious stuff that comes under Meta World News, or the stuff you would be used to be seeing on Metaverse Week in Review, all that stuff is being posted on a pretty daily basis up there, although there's not nearly as much of that content as there is on the Tumblr blog. Anyway, that's if you want to follow up some of the videos that we're normally be showing and links thereof. So I will get down to some of those links from the mainstream blog, as it were. The first one I've got open, and if I got a new Skype this morning, and I have no real clue as to how it's meant to work. There we are. I think it is now. Telling me the audio is stinky, so I'm going to change the position of my I've changed the position of my mic. Is that any better?
I'm really glad I didn't use a different word than stinky. Let's see. We'll see. We'll see.
Right, even at my end.
I think it's a bad connection. I think it's a bad Skype connection, because you were crackly a bit too, Petlove.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
Just now. Yeah.
Just ask the audience to just hold on a couple of seconds. We'll drop the call and start again.
Okay.
Keep the stream going, but just drop the call and start again. Okay. So
your intro was okay, so we can just pick up where we stopped.
Yeah, but for everything is yeah, okay. Right. Who's going to take over the call, or shall I just ring you all back? Hello.
If somebody else wants to run the call, that's fine with me.
I'll give it a try, see how it works.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah.
Hello.
Hello.
That sounds better.
Hello.
Yay.
And there's Mel, and we're all here.
It sounds better already.
Right. Okay.
Okay.
Very
Thank you.
good.
Thank you.
Well, welcome back, folks. We are here once again, hopefully with a somewhat better sound quality. As I said, I'm going to plunge into what we normally do at the beginning of the show now, and that is to just go through some various links from the week of a mainstream ilk, so to speak. The first link I have ready to go that we're sending over into chat right now is to The Economist, very famous magazine, The Economist. Very good magazine, actually, and its politics are not always what you think they might be. This was actually quite interesting because one of the topics in the mainstream news at the moment is this that is, well, a problem in Africa and going around the world at the moment. And the title of this blog actually is called Keeping Skin Out of the Game. And a weekend program project that aims to save lives half a world away. And this is all about an Ebola treatment unit in a risk-free environment. And can you guess what the risk-free environment is? Well, of course, it's a virtual world. So if you'd like to find out more about how that's working, do check out that article at The Economist. Right, kindly put that tab away. I told my browser. Yeah, you know what my browser's like, don't you? We go through this every week. And the next link when it comes up is to a magazine or a newspaper called The National. I find these links, by the way, and half the time I have no idea what the sort of flavor of the publications I post links to is. Somebody on Facebook was moaning at me in a week because I published a link to a news source that they really couldn't understand how I could possibly be of a mind to read. Anyway, this one, if this behaves itself, come on, it's just a copy command, right? If this works, there we go. Goes to the a site called The National, and I should just go to Q.
Yes, I see it in the studio.
And yes, now it's taken on there. Okay, we're going to go live again.
Yay!
Hey, there
Is
we
the
are.
ticker right? There's a ticker running.
I'm sorry, but okay, I'm going to go stop again, and I'm going to go live again. I've just said we've gone live. I'm not actually seeing the picture at my.
It's okay. We're ready to carry on now. By gosh.
Right. So welcome back, folks. We've just had to take yet another little break.
Collection called Tales of Mice by Lakua Arriaga. Her store is called Ionic, and these were actually from the Season Story first year anniversary event, which is a multi designer event, which has now ended because I went back to look and see if it was still open today, and it was almost all torn down. I could still get into the sim, but there was nothing to see. But I made a quick trip to her store and discovered that she is setting up these fun little mice there, and there's about a dozen different options, and these are just a few of them. That's a mama mouse with a baby, and two mice with a cheese, and then there's a couple of sleeping mice who are sleeping on a fox. Anyhow, they're just totally cute. So anyway, the store is Ionic, and the location of her store is Soul Reaper is the name of the sim. And the other discovery today was kind of a last minute little side trip. Thanks to a little write-up by Inora Pay in her blog on some place called Little World, which is a new opening by a build by Cica Ghost, C-I-C-A, Ghost is the avatar's name, and I'm sure it's Cica is how it's pronounced. It has to be. It just has to be. And I went and visited, and it's if you have any fondness for whimsical steampunkery, It's a fun sim. It's just, you know, the little houses and stuff are just very cute. There's lots of stuff moving, and pipes that have bulges that move through them, and whirly things, and these totally cute little birdies. Um,
They are.
they are. They just, I mean, I saw these and I said, oh, I have to have them. And so I did. I do. And these are called Patika metal gear birds. And they're, you will see them around in various places. And as it turned out, I just happened to spot them. She has a little teeny store selling some flower stuff that she has around for part of her ground cover, and these two were outside of there in another little structure or on top of something. I don't remember exactly what they were on top of. Anyway, I just happened to hover over them because I wondered, and sure enough, the little dollar sign came up, and the little
All
sign
right.
came up. I said, "Oh, goody," and
Gotcha.
snapped them up. So they're just they're just very cute. Anyway, the sim is called Taboo Rock, and I would definitely recommend go pay a visit and poke around. It's just great fun. There are little balloons you can ride around on. There's some cute little cars you can drive, and it's whimsical, great fun. And if you want to see some pictures and a little write up in our page, modemworldwordpress.com, you'll find her article a couple days back. Scroll through. And other than that, I think the big news this week, at least around Second Life, is the lab's tooting its own horn on, and I think probably well deserved, on improvements that have been happening under the hood on performance. And some of these have just rolled out, actually, as far as being grid wide. But they've made some improvements in how the marketplace behaves, as far as not degrading horribly over the weekends. There have been improvements in group chat. And probably, I think the biggie is improvements in texture and mesh loading. And this is from two different projects. One of them, I finally had to look up the abbreviation because I kept seeing the entire grid is now using a CDN service for textures and meshes. Well, what the heck is a CDN service? Well, CDN stands for Content Delivery Network or Content Distribution Network. And for those who are interested, this is a large distributed system of servers deployed in multiple data centers across the internet. The goal of a CDN is to serve content to end users with high availability and high performance. CDNs serve a large fraction of the internet content today, including web objects such as text, graphics, scripts, downloadable objects such as media files, software and documents, and applications, live streaming media, and but the lab moving to a CDN system, and I hope that got through, is major. And the particularly landmark day was Tuesday, when they flipped the switch for the rest of the grid. They'd been testing it on some of the test grids, Inworld, the Blue Spruce, and the other ones, and one of the things that was kind of interesting in an RPA's blog, she included a graph that Linden Lab provided that shows the number of servers that were showing lag or heavier than average traffic, and therefore degradation of service. And there's this little line where they turned on CDN. And all of a sudden, instead of these peaks where it was jumping up to 8 to 10%, all of a sudden it's almost a flat line at 0. And
awesome.
Yeah.
Wow.
Well, what was fun about this? What's interesting is that when they turned it on and they looked at this chart, which I guess is probably a running lifetime kind of graphic, they didn't believe it at first. and the assumption was, well, something's wrong with how this graph is being generated. And so
awesome.
apparently they spent several days poking at it, trying to figure out what was wrong with it before they finally decided nothing was wrong with it. It was just the performance was so much better that it was just, eye-popping. So, if you care about these kinds of things, take a look at an RFA's blog and see this chart, which Linden Lab cut loose, at least at third-party developers, because it's well worth seeing.
Do you know if this is? I mean, I'm familiar with the CDM prefix, instead of www when I'm getting embeds for live stream and things. So it's actually a sort of recognized addressing system as well. But do you know if this is working in third-party viewers, or does it? Is it only working in the Lab's own new viewer update?
No, CDN would be across the globe. Would be true regardless of what viewer. The other piece that is viewer dependent is HTTP.
Yeah.
And I have a little piece of information on that too, because that is now available in the official viewer, the full implementation of HTTP feeds, and Anara Pei. Thank you. As of her blog post about this about 2 days ago, at the time of the writing that she wrote, the third-party viewers that already have the HTTP pipelining code in them are Alchemy version 3.7.19 beta, Black Dragon version 2.4.0.4, Cool VL version 1.226.12.21 and 20. Both a couple of those, and then their legacy version, and Restrained Love version 2.9.3, and that's all that she listed. So I think the real takeaway to me is, I think it might be a good idea for everyone who is using a third-party viewer, just for their own information, to download the official viewer and take it for a little test drive and take it to some places that you have never been before, where textures are going to have to download and all that kind of stuff, and just notice what the performance looks like.
Oh man!
It has seemed to me that textures, even using Firestorm, are coming through a lot faster and more consistently. Anyway, so this is big stuff, I think, for a lot of people. If you think of all the times that
World of Warcraft eats your heart out.
Yeah, you've gone to some sim, and especially someplace that's fairly busy, and you stand around for 5 or 10 minutes, you go off and get coffee and a snack, and you come back. Well, you still got, just tons of gray.
Right.
And so things that make an improvement in that are really, really welcome.
And that's really great. I noticed things have been looking better at the different. I've been noticing mesh has been looking better in some places. Actually, it looks really great sometimes. Like your birds, for instance, the textures on them I think are very nicely done and very sharp and meshy looking.
Yeah.
And they look like really good mesh.
Mesh should also be looking better for the same reasons, because the mesh itself, those textures, and not just the textures on the mesh object, but the mesh itself.
It's very interesting.
Should be downloading
easier.
Yeah,
I can't wait to try the official viewer, because they do have great graphics.
Yeah.
They just have to get the inventory together, and then I'll promote them.
That's something else that was mentioned, I think, in the Labs article, and that is that one of the enhancements from these changes is your inventory will download faster.
Yeah, but they don't have a collapse button. They don't have a warn button. They need to do that.
Oh yeah.
And that's good. What you just said. Yeah, the quicker loading inventory. That's of course a big improvement. Always.
Well, yeah. In the quicker loading inventory, I don't recall now if that is from the HTTP piece of it, or if that's from the CDN piece. I suspect both together are contributing, but I would think with the CDN viewer that piece that would still benefit everybody on any viewer. So
I've often thought that something useful in an inventory would be something like a folder, a marked system folder, something called Essentials or something, which would automatically load all your essential things
they do give
before.
You the bridge. So they could,
Yeah,
I
yeah,
guess. Yeah.
yeah. It's funny, they were talking on OpenSim today about causes of lag and things, and it occurred to them that people who are hypergridding in are obviously bringing an inventory and a suitcase in with them, which contains content and is hosted on other grids. So no matter how much they're testing what happens, on their native grid, some people are always going to be coming in, bringing things in that are taking their time to load as they cross grids. But inventory is a complex matter, really.
Yeah. Oh, and I've just kind of been scanning back through my notes here, and the piece that includes significant improvements to inventory folder and item fetches, and markedly decreases the time taken for inventory to load, is part of the the official HTTP pipelining viewer, which is now the de facto release viewer,
right,
as of Wednesday. So,
okay.
So so there you have it.
Cool.
And that's enough for me.
Right. Okay. So, well, that was short and sweet for now.
Not forever.
No, we'll have plenty more coming up. Okay, well, now I think it's time to hand over to Maria for all the exciting stuff that's been...
Oh, we lost Mal. Come back, Mal.
Well, mind her.
Thank you, Mal. Okay, so it's been a light week for me because I have been working on the OpenSim Community Conference. It looks like it's going to be shaping up really exciting. And from what I heard at our organizational meeting, we're doubling the size of the conference compared to last year. So it's pretty cool. And all the scalability improvements are going to go back to generic OpenSim. So definitely make plans next weekend to attend. And since all the Inworld tickets have already been sold out, all 400 of them, sign up for the streaming sessions instead. You can always drop in. You don't have to sign up ahead of time. But if you do sign up and Inworld spots open up, the people who've signed up for the streaming sessions will be first in line to get them.
Okay.
Yep. So there's a reason to sign up for the streaming. Okay, so so this is November, and I was supposed to do a little story about November events coming up, but I'm a little running behind. So that will be out tomorrow, probably end of day. So if you want to find out about what the November events that are happening, go to hypergoodbusiness.com tomorrow or on Monday. The big news that I do have is one of the interesting things that I had from Inworlds, which is the biggest commercial grid by traffic, is that today, for the first time, avatars and the people behind them are running the American Cancer Society Relay for Life for real, virtually. So what I mean by this is that avatars will be running on a virtual racetrack in a virtual world. But to make them run, you have to physically run on a treadmill or a stair stepper with the new Inworld's InShape mobile app. So you can walk, bike, or run, and this information will be transmitted through the app into the virtual world, and your avatar will be running the virtual track. So that's very exciting. So you can participate in this event physically, virtually. Okay, you know what I mean.
Wait a minute! I just got dizzy. Wait.
there was a similar major thing done in Second Life. It was a few years ago, and it wasn't for relay, but it was some kind of marathon where a guy got on a treadmill and in real time, just a few days, just worked this treadmill in time with the avatar in Second Life. But I've tried the InShape thing. I'm not entirely sure how many people have taken it up. They have a special group for it. A back channel communication group I get messages from. So I don't know how many people are actually equipped with all the necessaries to connect. I know when I tried it, I certainly wasn't. But
yeah, it takes a few different kinds of pieces to do it. You have to have the treadmill or the bike or a gym to go to, and you have to have the right mobile equipment, and you have to install everything and hook it up. So, but I definitely like the idea of this for the future.
Oh, yeah.
Once this technology gets a little bit more commercialized and easy to use, I love the idea of using my own, say, stair stepper at home, or my own little virtual reality treadmill, like maybe say the Omni treadmill or whatever exercise equipment I've got around the house, to move through a virtual world with a group of other people. So, like, instead of exercising by myself at home, I could be hiking the Appalachian Trail virtually with a group, and meet with them on a regular basis and do the whole trail with them over like the course of a year. I think that would be really cool and a lot of fun. Or fundraisers such as this one, where you have a fundraiser where you're with a bunch of people for a good cause, and it's and a little bit of competitive spirit. Are you going to finish this event or not? And what place are you going to do? So I think it's a great idea, and I would love to see more of this.
And I can see it as so much of an added value factor. I know, for example, Relay for Life in Second Life is huge. It counts as a city in Relay for Life Outworld, But I think for some, the Stone Novelty factor, whereas when you actually consider that, using the treadmill kits, and of course they're coming online, because of the virtuality buzz, and the InShape thing is simply a software plugin, so it's quite close. But watching, you can then actually say to them, well, you're not just watching an avatar trekking around a virtual thing, running and being sponsored, but this is something really working out.
Right.
At the other end, you might not be seeing the sweat on the avatar, but believe me, if you saw the webcam, you probably would be. So it gives it a kind of validity, I should say.
Yeah. And personally, I have to say that if the only thing waiting for me to do my exercise is just my exercise machine, I'm not going to do it. But if there's people waiting for me and there's a group that's counting on me to hold up my share, then peer pressure totally works on me.
Awesome.
And I know that it's a great motivator for me to get stuff done. So if there's a bunch of people waiting for me for our trek, for our marathon, for our fundraiser, I will show up and I will do it.
I think what this should bring out is a virtually linked exercise bike.
Yeah.
Like people have. And the great thing about that is while you're pedaling on your exercise bike, you could be generating the electricity to power the computer you're viewing it on.
All right.
Okay, fair enough.
Maria, do you have a link for information on that walking, hiking, running, biking thing?
I have just closed the tab. I will pull it up and I will post it into the Inworld chat. Oh, there it goes. That was fast.
Yeah, I'll paste it into Skype, and then I'll stick it in the.
I just pasted it into Skype.
Thank you.
Okay, so also on the hardware front, and I was particularly excited about this because this project is led by women, and there aren't that many women in a virtual reality hardware space. A company called Jingweidu Technology, they're based in Shenzhen, launched a device called 3 Glasses. They had a big conference in Beijing announcing this. And 3 Glasses looks a lot like the Oculus Rift. It actually looks a little like a cross between Oculus Rift and the Sony Project Morpheus. It's curved, it's a little sleek. It's really nice. And it's not a holder for a smartphone. which is what most of the things coming out of China are. This is an actual standalone system. It's supposed to directly compete against the Oculus. You can already pre-order it. Delivery is scheduled to begin in late December, so they're really jumping into the market full, both feet in. And it costs about $327 US. It also comes with a bunch of peripherals, and there's a video you can watch from the China Daily, which is in English, kind of in English, mostly in English, and a little video from the company itself. So I'm very excited about the whole rush of companies into the market, because the more competition, the better. And when somebody invents something really, really cool, other people will take it on. I really like the selection of the hardware that they're offering with this. Also, the hardware is pretty much traditional peripherals, joysticks, a steering wheel, and some audio headsets. But still, it's the thought that counts. So, and they might invent something else. Where the specs are about the same. I couldn't see anything at all about positional tracking of the device, but the resolution is the same, the refresh rate's the same. The viewing angle is a little bit larger, 124 degrees versus 100 degrees for the Oculus Rift, but that could be like the way they measure it. But the weight is quite a bit lower, 280 grams for 3 glasses versus 440 grams for the DK2. So the DK2 is just under a pound, and 3 glasses are just over half a pound. So that is interesting, because that's one of the things that people have sometimes worried about, is how heavy is this device, and is this going to really weigh down my head forever?
I noticed, just while you're on that subject, I noticed, I haven't got any links directly, but Road to VR this week, there was a blog which actually showed, and I don't know whether it's just a test mock-up or a real mock-up of the consumer version of the Oculus Rift, and that is a lot more compact. It's got a rubber band, that goes around your head, and it's sort of, it certainly looks more agreeable to put on, put it that way.
Right. Well, yeah. So again, I'm comparing it to the DK2, which has the specs posted online. The specs for Crescent Bay, who knows what those are, and then of course the actual consumer device that the Oculus is going to launch with could be very different. It's had a few transformations already. Also on the hardware space, although I haven't posted a link to this yet on Hypergood Business, but I've been meaning to, Nimble VR is another hardware company. And what this one does is it sticks a little camera to the front of your Oculus Rift, and the camera can see your hands.
Yeah.
So I like that very much, especially if the camera can also see your keyboard, so you can type.
Do you know if is that the one that actually incorporates a leap motion facing outward? I know there's one that merges the Oculus with the leap motion.
Yeah, I remember that one. Yes, I think this is a separate company, because they have their Nimble. It's a 3-gear branded, their own skeletal hand tracking software, and they use third-party depth sensing cameras, but they created a new camera just for VR. So it sounds like this is a new product, and it's a very compact little thing that attaches to the Oculus Rift. I think that if it works out really well, this is something that the Oculus Rift should include in the headset. They should include a positional camera that's not on the wall, but in the Oculus Rift looking outwards, and they should make that camera do double duty, not just, note where the walls are so it knows where your head's moving forward or backwards, but also keep track of your hands. Why not?
Yeah, absolutely.
Right? Yeah. All right. Moving on. A bunch more grid mergers are coming.
Yes, this is the new trend, isn't it?
It's the new trend. So we've heard. I don't remember if I told you last Saturday. 3D Grid, which is a German educational grid, has merged with Metropolis, which is the big German social grid. And they said that they won't have to manage the grid infrastructure anymore. They'll just move their regions over, and the students are going to get to be part of a bigger grid. And so they're college students, so adult content isn't really an issue. They've always been hypergrid enabled, so their students could travel over to Metropolis before if they wanted to anyway. So like for some school grids, they don't want to be part of a larger grid because, unsavory content or something like that. But with a college student audience, this isn't so much of an issue. So they're going to be joining the Metropolis grid. And a bunch of grids are joining AviWorlds. So we already mentioned Skylife Grid, which joined with AviWorlds, and the Skylife Grid owner is going to be helping AviWorlds run its technology. Well, now Next Reality Grid has announced that it's merging with AviWorlds, and the Lost Worlds Grid is merging with AviWorlds. And the deal is that these grids have a lot of content. Next Reality has the Red Light Hotel, which has mostly undressed dancers, and it has a bunch of racetracks. It's the former Pro Racer grid, and that's run by Mike Hart. And the Lost Worlds grid is I believe by Joe Builder, and also has a lot of interesting builds on it, a lot of regions. So they're bringing content to AviWorlds, and they're bringing technical expertise because both of these guys run their own grids. And AviWorlds, of course, brings its people. Apparently, indefatigable group of hundreds of Brazilians who will not stop showing up and dancing. So this gives them stuff to do. So nice, interesting combination. But there's also bad news that goes along with it. So Skylife's grid Josh Bohm has been hired away by CloudServe, which is a new hosting company that offers low-cost regions. And I've been meaning to do a trial of them this past week, but like I mentioned, I've been too busy with the community conference. So they've hired Josh Bohm as a CTO, and AviWorlds has declared war on CloudServe. Because they hired Josh away. And
you're right. They're not mad at Josh, right?
They're also mad at Josh. We're leaving, but Josh is like, it's a conflict of interest. Because these two companies compete with each other. So my solution, and I proposed this to AviWorlds, to Alex, don't go to war with them. Hire them to do technology consulting for you. Josh Bohm already knows how AviWorlds runs because he helped set it up. So he's already got a big head start, and hire them to do occasional technology consulting. And that way you keep, your relationship with Josh, and you continue to maintain access to his expertise, and you're not competing with them. You're a client of theirs. And so everything's good, right? And then you save yourself the trouble of going to war against the hosting company, freeing you up to launch a war against somebody else. So, I don't know.
Wow, that's pretty crazy.
Yeah, so hopefully they will straighten this out, because I think you can get a lot further with cooperating than with having a war. But on the other hand, I'm also happy to see that we're now seeing a war for talent, that people are getting paid to do these kinds of jobs, that it's a competitive market, and that means that prices are going to go up for people's salaries, and it means that more people are going to want to come into OpenStim to do these kinds of jobs. So overall, I think it's a positive development, and I'm happy to see more of these kinds of companies emerge and become viable and profitable, so they can hire more staff.
That's a good way to look at it. That's a really good way to look at it. That's true.
Yeah.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And of course it's not just staff that they're hiring. They're going to be bringing in customers who are going to need builders and creators and community managers and event organizers and everything else. This whole ecosystem. Every new player to the ecosystem helps, open up more space for more players to come in. And that's a good thing in my mind. So, do you guys want to hear about some of the panels that we're going to have at the OpenSim Community Conference?
Okay. I'll just take a quick break on that one because I'm just looking through the news items I've got here. I'm going to post one now, which is John Lester, Pathfinder Lester, gave a presentation to the Science Circle in Second Life during the week. You'll find it on one of my blogs, blogspot.com, called The Art of Enhanced Reality. And I'm sticking the link into that now. That's actually an hour-long video. It's got its interface showing, which I hate, but I mean, it's a good little talk. And the other thing, because we do get into this now and again. I'm trying to find the link, but there is. Here we are. I'll just try and copy this from the article, and hopefully this will work. Right, link coming over now. So it's one of these Twitter shortened links. This is something I actually retweeted in the week from somebody called Brianna Wu, aka LWE. But it's an announcement about a legal defense fund for women targeted by Gamergate.
Oh.
Which I actually tweeted because it's tangentially on our radar, and I think that's quite a good thing to be happening. So yeah, and he's scrolling down here. Right, one more link. I'm going to bring across copy link again. These are short links, I'm afraid. Why these neuroscientists are prescribing video games, and this got this. I can't remember the whole article here. It's one of those that I remember mostly because it's been retweeted a hell of a lot.
My Psycho Neuro shrink just prescribed that type of thing for me. No, just kidding.
Jolly good.
Sorry.
Anyway, that seems to be a rather popular article, so I thought I'd sort of get that one in too. Yeah, I think it's time to turn our focus to next weekend. I've actually kept a tab open here with the Open Simulator Community Conference 2014 agenda on it. So maybe we can, since we often end up talking about women in representation, not just in virtuality but elsewhere. 7:30 on Saturday will be the keynote, which is a developer panel about Open Simulator, but that's followed at 9 a.m. by women in virtuality. So what can you tell us about that?
Okay, so we've got we're starting off the business and development track with Women in Virtual Reality panel. And this is a panel of some of the founding members of Women in Virtual Reality. And I'm moderating it. And we have Julie Lemoyne, who runs one of the big enterprise platforms for virtual reality, as well as some of the people involved in other areas of it. And that's going to be we're going to talk about the contributions that women are making to virtual reality in some of the unique things that women bring to this space, and not only on the softer side, the community side, the content development side, the business management side, but also on the hardware and the programming side as well. So I guess a lot of people, maybe they don't know that it was a woman who invented the hypergrid, Krista Lopez. She is the Tim Berners-Lee of the metaverse. And I think that's really cool. Of course, she's also going to be speaking at the developer panel at the keynote. So she's being stretched very thin. But that's the kind of thing that I think people sometimes forget about, that this is not an all-male dominated thing, even though sometimes it looks like that. The next panel right after that is also actually about a woman. One of our panelists, Julie Lemoyne, will be talking about how to sell virtual reality in the enterprise. So if you are a consultant or somebody who wants to have corporate clients, because that's where the big money is, their deployments aren't in the hundreds of dollars, but in the hundreds of thousands of dollars, that this is a good session to attend. Sorry, I need a cough drop. Okay, and we're gonna have Elon Tochner from the Kitely Grid coming to talk about the Kitely market. So if you want to sell stuff in OpenSim, he's going to be there to answer questions. And right before his presentation, we're going to have a talk about content protection in OpenSim. A lot of things have changed over the course of this past year when it comes to protecting content in OpenSim. So if you're a content creator thinking about getting caught up or coming over there, that would be a great session for you to attend as well. And the following day on Sunday morning, I'm going to give a talk about hypergrid growth statistics and all the latest numbers and data that we have. We're going to have a presentation from a Swedish group about how they use OpenSim for real-time planning. And we're going to end, and the mic track ends with a talk about does OpenSim have the critical mass to survive, which could be interesting for some of our audience who are thinking, well, why should I bother learning about OpenSim when Second Life version 2 is coming along and high fidelity and who knows what Facebook is doing? Maybe I should just sit on my hands and wait to see how it all shakes out. And my answer is no, don't do that.
It's like, there are different fashions for a reason. There are different flavors of, types of bagels. There are different types of grids for people. Like what's good for one person on Second Life might be something somebody else detests. So they can go to another, say, OpenSim grid and not have to deal with, whatever, too much oversexed clothing or, whatever they don't like, griefers. SL has the full-blown community, and that's great. But for people who don't want that, there's a sim for everybody. There's music sims. There's, racetrack sim now at Abbey Worlds. That's quite interesting. I have a lot of questions about that. But it's good. It's all good,
I think if you're looking for an Oculus compatible platform where you can run a world on your own servers for free, that's totally unconnected from anything else, no centralized authority, nobody peeking in on you, no Facebook tracking anything.
Right, exactly.
Then OpenSim is the furthest ahead right now. In fact, it's the only one in the game right now. Now, could somebody come in? I think that they could, but right now we're it. Now, what I also think though is that the skills we learn in OpenSim, in creating a community, in maintaining a community, in attracting content creators, in running your own grid, these are all very, very specialized, unique skills, and that once you've learned them, they're transferable to any technology platform. And you would be able to get a head start on everybody by practicing right now in OpenSim. And if the eventual metaverse winds up being OpenSim compatible, then of course you can just keep on doing what you're doing. And if we eventually wind up switching to a different platform, you can move your content over, but more importantly, you can move your skills and your people over, which is a lot easier to move than, and if you have to rebuild. Although with Mesh, you don't even have to rebuild that much. So that's my take on that one. And of course,
get in first or be left behind.
yeah. And then the other thing, we're going to have a talk on Saturday about the new grid association that's being formed. This is being led by Third Rock Grid. And we're going to have the founder of Third Rock Grid on our panel, and a couple of other grid owners and experts about what they plan to do with their grid association. And one of the things that's under consideration is to get the grids to contribute some real money towards fixing some of the things that we want.
I couldn't find my unmute button fast enough. Cough. They're going to get real money? Sorry, Marie, I think we lost your audio.
Yeah.
There it goes.
So that's something that's very exciting and very much needed. And if we can get it going and get it ramped up, that could really accelerate OpenSim development and position us for the future as well. So that's something that I'm looking forward to. Meanwhile, I have a few other links to share about something happening in OpenSim. I don't know if I mentioned this last.
Actually,
yeah.
Could we just stay with the conference for a minute?
Sure. Okay.
I've been following you skipping down the list here, and it's obviously the business track you've been mostly.
That's the one I run, yes. But there's other stuff happening as well. There's cool keynotes.
Yeah, I thought I'd actually just go down the list generally and just ask you a few questions, because you might have answers that I don't have. The Open Simulator Developer Panel is actually the first keynote, and as you said, that's got Krista Lopez on it and a whole load of other people, and the Women in Virtuality we've done. I'm not sure. These are color coded, and of course, I can't see the color code bar properly. A library out loud. This is all that while you're doing Women in Virtual Reality. Yeah. Library out loud is community bringing stories and literature to life in virtual worlds. That's 9 a.m. on the Saturday. Which sounds interesting. Do you know if that's Navanuke and
I believe that's the Sunshine Library.
Oh, right. Okay. Caledonia, who we've had on the show, of course. So,
yes, we have.
Right,
they've been here talking about it.
Yeah, we got there first, folks.
Another interesting topic would be how to move stuff from Second Life to OpenSim and Unity 3D, which I think is also an interesting thing, especially if we're going to be having more virtual world platforms. You might want to brush up on your export skills.
Very true indeed.
Also at 9 o'clock in the morning. So tough choice there. Tough choice.
Yeah. This is the thing about conferences. You can't be everywhere. And even if you're watching on TV, you can't watch everything.
They have five tracks. Five tracks. Every track is loaded. But it'll all be on YouTube, so you can watch it all over time. Yeah,
they will actually
archived. Yes.
Yeah, exactly. That will be the main way to make sure you can see everything. It would actually be 6 channels on YouTube, 5 tracks and the keynotes.
Sure.
So there'll be 6 different live venues for you to see on not YouTube, sorry, Ustream. Though it does get backed up after recording to YouTube.
Now another session.
Carry on.
Okay, a session that I'm really sorry to be missing, because I'll be on the other track, is Virtual Worlds on a web browser, which Tony Alatano is going to be talking about at 10 o'clock on Saturday, and that's the development track. I've talked about Tony before. He's from the Real Extend side of OpenSim, and they already have a web browser that works with Real Extend called Web Tundra. And Tony says it would take a day to jury rig it to work with OpenSim, in a month to get it working very well. And what I'm hoping is that he gets his developers together with the OpenSim developers and maybe get some funding from the Grid Owners Association.
Again?
And maybe we can make stuff happen.
Mm-hmm.
That would be very, very cool thing. And if that's the thing that happens from this conference, that'll be very exciting.
The other person we haven't heard from for some time is Sunny Salamander, who had that. Oh, I can't remember what it was now, but that was another exercise of bringing the metaverse onto a web page plug-in. I think he was at ERCC last year and has since has been working on commercial projects and not.
Yeah, that's. I haven't seen anything coming out of Pixie, the Pixie viewer in ages, and I am sad about that because the Pixie viewer looked so optimistic, so nice, and then it just kind of didn't go anywhere. And the same thing, of course, happened with the Tipagean viewer a couple of years before that. So I'm tempted to think there's a conspiracy out there.
So am I. I'm actually kind of wondering. I mean, maybe I should try and get in touch with Sunny and find out. But I actually got the impression that it was full steam ahead, but was now under wraps. With some commercial enterprise.
Right.
Was contracting the work necessary.
Well, that was the last news that I got from him too, and then nothing. The promises that things are going to happen, and then no follow through. So that's very sad. But on the plus side, Philip Rosedale is going to come talk at noon on Saturday. He'll be talking about what is the metaverse.
I was just going to say, you mentioned Chris. You mentioned Tipadean.
Chris Collins. And he
Chris
works right now with Philip Rosedale.
He's working with Philip pretty much sort of co-running.
Aren't they streaming some of that from High Fidelity, or am I wrong about that?
I heard something about that, but I was tuning it out.
Okay.
I was sitting there thinking, now is it going to be possible to raise a screen in OpenSim that will actually show high fidelity on the web page?
Yes, we can do that.
And something might be happening on that front.
Yeah.
But,
I think it's really cool that he is coming to OpenSim. So he was on the Moses Grid earlier. Mal, you were there with him.
Yeah.
He's speaking at this conference. If there's any kind of possibility of joint of a viewer that works on both, I think that would be extremely exciting because he has the brand name recognition. Every time he coughs, there's a media outlet covering this. Whereas with OpenSim, it takes me a year to get a story into print, and I have to fight, with editors. I mean, not on the Hypergrid business, but on the regular media that I work for. Yeah. Of course, because on Hypergrid business, I don't have to do much fighting at all, except unless it's with my refrigerator.
Wait a minute. So, virtual refrigerator?
My actual refrigerator jumps in front of me as I try to write articles and says, no, have some ice cream.
I see.
So, yes, I have one of these moving, talking, intelligent refrigerators.
I hate AI. Mm-hmm.
Why did I spend that for that extra money on that? Yes, it was totally. So I think it's a really, really great sign that he's coming, and given the fact that high fidelity is still quite a ways away, and that OpenSim is going to continue to develop, that there's possibilities there that maybe we're going to be able to have multiple servers coexisting just like we have on the web. Because on the web, we have the open source Apache servers, we have the Windows proprietary servers, we have the Sun servers, IBM web servers, all these different servers serving up web pages, and we, the web surfing public, don't even know who's running that website.
I know it's it's the old thing. It was the working group or whatever. Well, I'm getting confused with names now, but there were some questions put out about what they should be considering first, and one of the options was a dedicated viewer, and I immediately thought, yeah, that's the one to go for, because. Yeah, I mean, I think it is just down to the viewer, because if you can have something which is compatible with all these different back-end systems and just have some certain standards in place to play nice, the world is our virtual world is our oyster, so to speak. Yeah.
So with something like high fidelity, we need a viewer that shows mesh. That will cover a huge big chunk of the virtual world platforms out there. Most of them are already mesh anyway.
Yeah.
And then if we add prims to cover OpenSim and Second Life, and if we add voxels to cover the high fidelity stuff, we'll have full coverage of everything. And now this might not be like a full featured viewer, but might only be a look around only viewer, because of the whole inventory and other kinds of issues that will be very different. But over time, and especially, I'm a big believer in a practical implementation as opposed to the pie in the sky theoretical in architecture. So there's a lot of interoperability working groups that are all pie in the sky. Let's theoretically invent something. But in practice, if you have a working standard like the hypergrid standard that's already working, that's already being used by hundreds of worlds, that already allows for all this interoperability, then and it's an open published standard. It's open source. You can just attach to it and use as much or little of it as you want, and just build from there from something that already works. So we'll see. It's too early to say. I mean, there's still time left to hash all this stuff out. So who knows what's going to happen? And so what else? We've got.
Well, let me go. Yes, exactly. I'm following the timeline here, and you're jumping all over the place.
Go ahead.
Certainly, Philip's keynote is going to be the highlight keynote.
Yeah. Nothing else is scheduled for that time, so we can all come.
Yeah. 10 a.m. This is one I know Pet is filming, I think, actually. Prisoner's Dilemma is not the instructor's dilemma.
That is it's in the Learning Lab.
Yeah.
It's the 5th stream they have going. And yes, that's going to be really terrific. There are a number of really great interactive or engaging presentations. So I totally recommend it.
You jump to the next day there.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Where'd you go?
No, this is at 10 a.m. on Saturday. According to my schedule here, it is.
Really?
Yes, I have.
Prisoner's Dilemma? Let me see. Rehearsal schedule.
You went back. Oh, right. Yes, I see it.
No, but I see mention here the Fed Vulcan's Virtual World Challenge being part of that too. So yeah.
Yep.
There are just too many things on this to
really, you have to internalize it.
Right.
Yeah. Now, something I did notice today, and I forget what day it was, but there is, I think, somewhere in one of the meal break, the lunch times on one of these days, Pathfinder Lester is going to be doing, I wouldn't call it a hypergrid safari, but he's going to be taking people on in the gap period on tours of teaching them how to hypergrid and taking them to some cool places. So whether that's just Saturday or just Sunday or both, I don't know. But he seemed stood up for it. I actually saw him volunteering on the spot. So that could also be fun because, of course, one of the great things about the Hypergrowth Safari, for example, is, you all meet and you go around together, and it's much more conducive to exploring than just sort of logging in on your own, finding yourself on a deserted grid and thinking, now, where can I hyperjump to? It's nice to do it with a crowd.
Yes, you can make snarky remarks like, "Oh, they call this a grid," and it's much more fun that way.
Maria.
Yeah, there's plenty of snarky remarks on the Hypergrid Safari, but it's all good-natured.
Or if you find something that looks really good, you want somebody next to you to say, "Oh my God, that's perfect color on your avatar." You don't want to just hold it against yourself. It's really sad.
Oh, Maria?
Maria?
I'll bet you're talking about when you see something good, you should make a note and share it with your friends, right?
like when you see a cute little top, or a little dress that's just perfect. You want somebody to ooh and ah over it,
right?
With somebody, not just by yourself.
Yeah, it's a lot more fun.
Yeah. Or if you're riding a virtual roller coaster and you're screaming, you want somebody to laugh at you, right? You don't want to just be there by yourself. It's not as scary.
Or when you find a hopelessly cute mechanical bird.
Yeah, exactly.
I don't care whether it's real life or virtual life. I do not want to be on a roller coaster. Thank you. Do my head in.
All right.
Now, just before Philip's keynote, I know it's 11 a.m. VIP keynote Q&A. Do you know what that is?
Yes.
Yes, that's for those of us who ponied up to help support the conference.
Yes. You get to interact with the keynote speakers personally. Personally. Yes.
Fair enough. So you'll get to exhaust Philip before he takes the stage.
Don't warn him. Just let him find out on his own.
I have a suspicion that Philip can go for a couple hours without.
I know, right?
Without
he has no problem
sweat,
with that. Yeah.
I also have a suspicion that Philip won't turn up until 5 minutes to 12 anyway.
All right.
Busy guy.
Right, now you covered, now simultaneous with your new era of content protection, we've got a thing with the Camelot projects. They are great, and I've actually posted a few of their videos recently, which is language learning with Machinima. Very interesting stuff. Good machinima, but also with another purpose.
Now, for me, the cool thing that in that time slot is the viewer development panel with Justin Clark Casey, because they're bringing in all the viewer developers and putting them in the same room with Justin, who's the core OpenSim developer, and having them actually communicate with one another. I don't know if you guys know this, but in the past, there's been a Chinese wall between these two groups of developers. They weren't allowed to talk to each other because the viewer code and the OpenSim code is licensed under two incompatible licenses. And they've fixed this problem with a new foundation and a new infrastructure for OpenSim. There's contributor agreements and all sorts of other stuff that they've set up to make that problem not as big a problem anymore. And so now they're allowed to talk to each other and do stuff together and fix stuff together. And it's also a good thing that they're showing up because the OpenSim population base is tiny compared to Second Life. I'm sure this comes as a shock to all of you, but we're still a small group. And so when viewer developers are trying to think of what audience they're developing for, Second Life is usually kind of ahead there because there's just more people. And OpenSim requires some different stuff because we can do more prims, we can have different kind of features, we can do longer jumps, we have all these different grids, and that requires extra management tools. So we're extra work for them. And the fact that they're
we got to explore that. Right. So we got a rather dodgy audio again on you, Maria. But cracked up a bit, but I think you're back.
Yeah, well, I'm really happy that they're showing up, and I think it's a really great thing they're taking OpenSim seriously. Yep.
Yeah. Actually, I think developers of all sorts actually is a very good thing because we often talk about the continuing absence of OS grid and things like that, and the lack of communication. So one assumes that a conference like this, they will actually all turn up and start communicating with each other, if not us.
Well, both Neb, who's the former president of OS Grid, has been involved closely in the conference.
Yeah,
and so has Dan Banner, who's the current lead administrator of OS Grid, but they've both been pretty closed-mouthed about what's happening on OS Grid itself. So I haven't been able to use my direct access to pry out more information from them, possibly because there really isn't more information to be had. So yes, OS Grid is still down. It's been down since mid-August.
And
it is a very, very sad thing. But moving on.
I'm just getting slightly confused here. 2:30. This is on your strand, isn't it? The Kitely Market, the Metaverse Marketplace. But at the same time, I see you down as moderating a panel on the new Association for Grid Owners.
Yes, and this is a logistical nightmare because I have to leave my track, moderate that panel, and then hop back to my track to continue managing it. And Chris Collins, who's running this conference, is going to have to step in at the beginning of that to make sure that the Kitely's Elon Hotchner is settled in okay to start off his talk. Yeah.
I did wonder about that.
Yes.
That's why backup is good. Redundancy is a beautiful thing.
This is why if you had two computers, you could have two avatars in, and then you could get hopelessly confused.
If they knew that, they'd have her doing 4 tracks at once.
I did that. I did that at the rehearsals this morning. I had my Overcon Abby, which is my Hypergrid Abby, logged in, and I had my attendee Abby logged in, and I forgot which one was doing what. Especially as both were emitting separate audio.
Yes. Well, I'm not going to do that, although I do have two computers. It would drive me crazy. Yeah. It was bad enough today. I was late to the Grid Owners track because I lost track of where I was supposed to be and so forth. So yeah, that those two things are at the same time, and it is confusing. Yes.
One trick is actually that I don't know if it's any help, but is to log into a secondary one with something like the Radagast client, so you can keep an eye on conversation, even though immersively you're fully engaged with the other one. Just this way of slightly keeping tabs on things, but even that's difficult, I have to admit. Right, the Hypergrid, online identity and virtual assets in a federation of virtual worlds. This sounds like a heavy number.
No.
This is Krista.
Krista Lopez is presenting this. She is the inventor of the Hypergrid, and she's going to be talking about some of the more technical aspects of how the system works. It's a system with many, many moving parts because all these grids are totally independent. There's no centralized system for keeping track of anything. And there's groups, and there's profiles, and there's instant messages. And you could actually send content from one grid to another, like the Kitely Market is doing. And you can send messages and announcements and you teleport landmarks and, of course, inventories, because as you travel around from grid to grid to grid to grid. So a lot of moving parts that have to be managed all on the fly. So it's a very, very cool area of research and development. And so if somebody's looking at this going, I want to help build the future, well, this is a great place to come in and learn how the future will work.
And I I love listening to Krista too, because despite her being a developer and you'd think very techy, she's very, her language is very accessible too. So, yeah.
Great voice too. Oh.
Yes, I know. You'd be surprised how many developers just all over the place when you're trying to listen to them, trapped in her own little world. But she's actually a very good speaker and very eloquent too. So,
all right.
Yeah.
And then that night, there's going to be a dance party for the conference on Littlefield Grid. And I was hoping to have Walter here tonight to talk about what the party was going to be all about, but I couldn't reach him. So sorry about that.
Can we share the hypergrid address for that?
Yes, we can. Okay. It's lfgrid.com :
I had problems getting into Littlefield yesterday, or was it the day before, but temporary, I'm sure.
I'm looking it up right now.
8002 or something, or
a lot of grids are. I'm looking up to see if there's a. Yep, that's it. lfgrid.com : 8002. So you should be able to just teleport in, and then it's and they should have signs up to the event. But if they
Speakeasy Dance Club is the location you'll be looking for. Yeah.
Yes, and in fact, that's the entire grid address is right here. I'm pasting that into Skype chat. lfgrid.com : 8002 : speakeasy, which is one word. All right.
That's one of the easiest type of addresses out there, actually. I tell you from experience, some of them are rather long.
No, it is not, because it's lfgrid.com. There's an lbgrid.com, which is the little bird grid, and the LH grid, lpgrid.com, which is Lost Paradise grid, and I have trouble separating them.
Well, yeah, we're back to this thing of don't put world in your grid name, aren't we? Don't have a nice small title that sounds like everybody else's short title.
What night is that dance party?
It's Saturday night, 8 p.m.
Okay. Now, this is a mature grid. In fact, Littlefield Grid started out as a more of an S&M kind of grid, and they've become more of a general social grid. But still, you don't want to bring your kids to this event.
Why not? naked dance party?
What have you got planned? You're not telling us.
No, I'm just saying it's a mature grid. That's all.
That's enough.
I'm not saying
that's all. That's really all you have to say.
Naked on the tables. I'm just saying the option is there, if you want.
Right. Well, moving on to the conference proper, Sunday, 7:30 a.m. is another major keynote, Steve Lavelle.
Yes.
And how real should virtual reality be?
And he's from the Oculus Rift team. So very exciting that the Oculus Rift people know about OpenSim. Yes. I love seeing that. And of course OpenSim has Oculus Rift support. So that's also a good reason to go to this conference.
And I think, in terms of publicity too, I mean, if you're streaming a speaker from somebody like him, that maybe get even more traction than somebody like Philip. But simply because of the interest in VR technology at the moment. And
also, Steve Lavelle isn't so much of a brand name. The Oculus Rift is, but not so much Steve Lavelle. Whereas Philip Rosedale is a brand name in and of himself.
True, very true. Yeah, but it's certainly a great diversion, because I don't think any previous Open Simulator conference basically has had anything that is quite so, moving into new hardware developments and stuff.
It's only the second one too.
Oh, true. Yeah. Yeah, somehow it's very odd, it is only the second one, but somehow there's such a long legacy there for Avacon and stuff that I keep thinking, it's been going on for ages, hasn't it? But yes, that's true. It's the first, it's only the second year of a thing this size. So yeah, absolutely, it's spectacular.
And I see why I was confused with the Prisoner's Dilemma, because they have a workshop on Sunday morning, 9.
They do, yeah.
Yes, and I thought that's what you were talking about instead of the previous one. So there's a couple of workshops for this going on this morning.
Yeah, I must say the 9 a.m. sessions, generally speaking, seem to be quite very sort of specific. I was interested about, I love this phrase, metacognition.
That's an old education term. That's understanding a variety of things that work together and help you learn more. Being aware of thinking about thinking even. Yeah.
So it actually predates the meta part predates the idea of meta.
Well, meta is a Greek or a Latin, root, so it really predates quite a lot. But yeah.
I'm one day where I should go in and check up on my metacognition abilities.
Start out with the easy ones, Mal. That's all I'm going to say.
It had that kind of ring to it. It had that ring to it. Mm-hmm. Right. Now, something I may well. I'm going to 10 o'clock here actually, and one that I think would be my cup of tea completely actually is. The second one down, applying real-life research to creating virtual landscapes for historical sites, which I find absolutely fascinating because, we have so much fictional creation and artistic creation in virtual worlds. But sometimes, journeying back in time through virtual
I think
worlds
you are
so
right. You are so
It's
right.
such a wonderful idea. You can imagine a virtual world in the future where you walk around the virtual London and up on some hypergrid layer way up above, you'll be able to teleport to London 10 years ago, 20 years ago, 30 years ago.
It's kind of like
we'll be able to experience the world. We'll be able to go to a location that is not only like a mirror of the real world location at the moment, but will allow you to go back in time from that location to see simulations of the past. And in excavation archaeology and stuff, they use virtual things an awful lot now, not the virtual worlds as we know them, but they can really speedily sort of dig up things and start modeling things on computers, that would have taken ages to work out back in the days when you just went and dug and waited to see what they found.
Yeah.
And even the valleys around Stonehenge in the UK, they've mapped them all out with various kind of sensors and discovered stuff underneath, and now they've been able to rebuild the original site as a 3D virtual exhibit. And, it's not just Stonehenge, the circle anymore. It's a whole community with this Stonehenge, on the hill. And it brings a whole new perspective on what we think of as Stonehenge. And even in Second Life, from time to time, I will go to like an ancient Roman build or a medieval build or something, or even 1920s Berlin, which are clearly, they're role play, but they're very serious role play in the sense that they're modeled on periods of history. And I think being able to move back in time is just, a wonderful thing that we can do now.
I think we're very close to the point where we go to Google Earth, and instead of just entering coordinates, we'll also add in a time period, and Google will send us to that location at some distant point in time.
Yeah, the virtual world.
There's Mal, you're talking about the mapping Stonehenge. Fascinating article I ran across recently where that thanks to the wonders of modern technology and some specialized aerial photography they can do, which is a piece of that, being able to map what's not visible.
Yeah, exactly.
They have done that in Thailand around Angkor Wat, and they'd long suspected that there was quite a city of some sort in that general vicinity. And they've been totally stunned to discover how much of a city there was through that kind of aerial photography. I'm not sure what there's a name for it, but it's just totally fascinating. There was a far more extensive um, building and canals and homes and temples and all kinds of stuff that is much further back than they expected.
That's awesome. I didn't know that.
And it's funny how, nature, it only takes a couple of centuries for things to just get grown over or built over. I mean, here in London, there's a whole London underneath London.
There's probably several Londons underneath.
We in human lifespan, we never notice these changes, but just when you start dealing in centuries and things, you don't have to go back that far to be in a completely kind of different world.
Mm-hmm.
Of course, we could also visualize the future with rising sea levels and stuff like that. But if they're doing this stuff, then we should be saying, "Okay, we'll come and create a simulation on the hypergrid so people can come and see your Thailand town or your Stonehenge." We need it. That's the sort of thing that. It's the sort of thing that Reservoir went on to do with their. I don't think it's there anymore. Well, I think you can get into it. But Heritage Key. Grid. They had their own viewer, and they'd had Tutankhamun, and I know Jonathan's keen on. Historical builds and stuff, and particularly Egypt. But the idea was it was just pitched as a grid for schools and things to go back to see historical recreations, and I love it. Anyway, yes. So hopefully I might be at that one. Into the hackerspace.
That's what I'm going to go to.
I don't know about that.
Go spend an hour mangling prims.
Yeah, and
3D fractals. Lear Lobo, I believe, is running that. It's awesome.
One that is simultaneous. These are both at the same time at 10 a.m. on Sunday. But scaling open simulator inventory using no SQL. Isn't this the thing we mentioned the other week, Maria? Where there's one grid that is using a different. They're on a Mac server or something, and they're using a different database system.
Mac servers are a separate issue. You can run SQL or non-SQL on a Mac. PostgreSQL database is a enterprise-friendly database that some grids are using or experimenting with using. But NoSQL is a different kind of database. It is not. It's organized in a different way. So instead of having rows of data, the data can be in very unstructured, loose form. And so instead of, you can store, for example, individual assets in different ways. And it can scale up dramatically. So some of the really big, giant, super big databases are done this way. And so for scaling OpenSim to really giant heights, you might have to look at some of these alternative ways of structuring data. And I do think that's very exciting, and I'd love to go to it, but I think I'm going to be busy.
I remember years ago when back in, I think it was DOS days, I tried to put databases of my film collections and music collections on side. I remember the wonder of discovering the relational database as opposed to the standard database I've been using. I thought, I can get at this all sorts of ways now. People forget how that nitty-gritty stuff is important behind the scenes. So, yeah. It could well be interesting. And also at 10 o'clock we got OpenSim K12 power panel. That's an education thing. K12 is something to do with American education. Yep. Right.
Now the guy who's going to be talking about, by the way, another reason to come to the NoSQL one is David Dashler is going to be the one who's presenting this one, and he is the CTO behind Inworlds. And if any grid knows how to manage huge user inventories, it's that grid. Because Inworlds, of course, is the grid with the most people on it.
Great.
Yep.
Yeah, very good. Oh God, gamification. I hate that word. I never quite know what it means anymore. Yeah, that's. Is that your session, gamification?
No.
No, it's just a similar light color here. I told you I was bad with this color grid. Right. Okay, that's more educational track. So what else have we got? Another K-12. Actually, most of this. Actually, probably the only interesting one at 2:30, from my point of view, anyway, is studying economics in the virtual world from lab to the class. This is not fair sellers, I take.
Now, even though it's not in the enterprise track, it will actually be held in the business session, because they had too many in their own track, which was the research and education track.
Right. Okay.
So even though it's a research project, I'm hosting it, so I will be, making sure that speaker is all set up.
Well, economics ties in pretty much, I would have thought, even if it isn't direct enterprise in virtual worlds. So.
Exactly.
And then we have educators' birds of a feather meeting. It's very much an education agenda this Sunday afternoon, by the look of it. Quest for Galaxy Language continues.
I think that's in the Learning Lab, too. That's the one where I think they were going to have the aliens land and talk to the group.
There's a sort of a play.
Yeah, it's a science fiction adventure.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
It's a play based on a story. It's an open sim live theater performance with avatar actors playing the parts of Earth people and visiting extraterrestrials who are helping the Earth people explore problem-solving strategies for learning to communicate with each other without prejudice and violence.
So we use the virtual world to talk to aliens. That's a good one.
The trouble is we don't know if we are or not with the virtual world. There might be aliens here already.
Yes, in the virtual world, you don't know if somebody's human or not.
Indeed. Well, that's nice, actually. I mean, it's, I'm not particularly interested in Dream Pop Rave at Tiki Beach an hour later, but, I like the idea of bringing performance in. Sort of making, because, a conference, especially near the end, I guess you really get a wee bit weary of sitting through a lot of panels and keynotes, and to actually have something that's a bit more, shall we say, of an exhibit.
I don't know. I'm kind of interested in the Tiki Beach. It's on the Pirates Atoll.
Oh yes, they had one the other night there. Actually, I think it was last night, Halloween night. They had a thing there. I didn't get there, but I kept getting the messages for it. we visited them on the Hypergrowth Safari recently. Yes, so they were very piratey indeed. Yes. Right, so this is that's really the end of it. Two days, massively. I mean, think of it this way: if you watch this conference in replay the next week, it's actually going to take you 5 days, 6 days to watch it, because you've got 6.
No more, 2 days, 6 tracks, so 12 days, really. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah.
If you watch one a day. If you watch one a day, yeah. I mean, watch one whole track a day.
Yeah, if you watch one track a day, it's going to it's absolutely phenomenal, isn't it? Over 2 days, and exactly. God, amazing.
And as soon as it's over, we take a break for the holidays, then we start planning the next one.
Well, I should think so too. Nothing like getting in there early.
Well, they're a massive amount of work. The people who organize these things and make them happen. My goodness, what talent!
Well, I can't believe
in the spring. We started this last spring.
Mm-hmm.
The work there.
Conference planning is people who have never done it have no idea how much time, effort, etc. goes into it, and how far ahead stuff has to start happening for it to come together. It's
the mind-boggling thing for me is actually Philippe and Joyce. Their energy levels just seem to be inexhaustible because they do so many other things too, and yet they're totally on top of this.
This is a good area for women in virtual worlds to highlight, because I work with a lot of teams, and I've seen a lot of big events and things like that organized, and I would have to say conservatively that like 70% to 80% of all that work done is usually by amazing women. Not to say there aren't amazing men too, but there's a preponderance of incredible women working.
Because you have to multitask.
I think women are just good organizers as a rule. So
and you have to get people to work together.
That's right.
And
it's a whole different headset. It really is.
Yeah.
The attention to detail counts hugely.
That's right.
Oh yeah.
All kinds of stuff. But I think what you said about getting people to work together, you get the right person in the right spot, then they will know how to smooth whatever bumps which inevitably arise. And and again, I hate to generalize. I'm somebody, I don't usually let people generalize, but the people I know who are really good at it are women. So whatever.
Yep. All right.
It's also a matter of having that broad view, which I admire a lot. I mean, I think I'm not very good at organizing, but I think something I share in common there is the broad view, and a lot of people do limit themselves, I suppose, by maybe being too specialized and focusing on their particular thing. Whereas both Philippe and Joyce especially just have that wonderful overview of everything, which allows them it facilitates
to encompass the whole exercise, and organize it. All right. And it takes a village. I mean, everybody has their own strengths, So your broad view be very valuable in a think tank, for instance, rather than running the organization or whatever.
Oh,
I mean, there are different places for.
I'm a sucker for sitting down into a think tank, I guess.
Especially, pay me.
Especially in virtual worlds, you can just jump in and go think tanking. with like-minded
you could be
people.
A think tank.
Before we leave the topic, because I know we're getting close to our time, I would like to ask anybody if you want to cover this event for Hypergood Business. Please let me know. I had somebody lined up, but they're having heart surgery or something like that. So very severe. They emailed me from the hospital. So I can use somebody to help out, and from any degree of things, even from attending a couple events and doing write-ups to taking some pictures, whatever you want to do. If you can help out, I would be so grateful. You can email me at maria@hypergoodbusiness.com.
Absolutely wonderful. I must say that I'm not, believe it or not, I may be running all these channels and shows and things, but I'm not set up to stream. But I apparently have been nominated as the roving reporter.
There you go, Maria. There you go.
In that actually, I'm just going to maybe take the old bit of highlight film or something offline, and maybe I haven't done any writing up reporting for ages. I prefer to come on screen and blabber at people. That's just my want, isn't it? Okay, well that's great. We're not quite finished yet though. I'm just going to move back to the old links, and
I have some more news that I wanted to add.
You did, didn't you? So I'll just do these first, and the first one here, I think that's a link. Yes, it is. This is a link at Engadget.com. Researchers create a virtual screen with touchable objects. This is, it's in our focus really. This is actually a virtual display with sensors, and it's been dubbed Hap to Mime. And it uses a reflective surface to give you a physically tangible feeling while you're handling 3D objects in space, so to speak. So, unlike the idea of a hologram, where maybe your hand moves through a virtual object, this is actually tactile somehow. It will actually give you the experience of touching the actual surface of the 3D object. So I was quite fascinated by this. And something I don't have a link to, but I did actually want to bring into the conversation today, which maybe I'll just do now before Maria moves on. A couple of days ago, Hewlett Packard released a new computer, a desktop computer. Have any of you heard of this or seen of it?
No.
No.
Well, it's got a funny name, but there's no keyboard. And as far as I know, there's no mouse. But what there is there's a good old-fashioned touchscreen in front. And then there's a second screen, a bit like an iPad attached to it, the same size, that is where that you would expect the keyboard to be. And the two screens work interactively. So you can use the big screen that's on flat in front of you to, I suppose, probably a virtual keyboard or type or whatever, and manipulate things, and they interact with what's on the display screen. And the additional thing this has, and this is, it's going to be in PC World shortly, but I gather, is it's got a projector system on top of it. So it can project, as well as the surface being tactile, it can also project down onto the surface and detect the interaction of your hands and things between the surface and the projector at top. It's like a freeway fold-out laptop.
That sounds
where,
really neat.
Everything integrates, and it's got a little bit of coverage. Oh, wonderful! Tara's found it. It's Sprout. That's what it's called. What a name for PCs. HP Sprout. But it's not, it's not that cheap, but it's not phenomenally expensive, I gather. There's going to be a high-end workstation. Probably no more expensive than a higher-end Apple product, for example. But yeah, a totally new way of doing things. And I must say, I was looking at it and thinking, what kind of opportunities that might open up. So maybe we'll discuss that another week when we've all had time to look at the gorgeous pictures and the reviews and imagine what that could do for virtual worlds. Because I think a hell of a lot. You have the virtual world on your screen, but you control all your walking, on this tablet. And then you've got a projector above that allows you to move your hands off the surface and still do things off the surface. So interfacing, that's what it is. And this seems to be a rather cutie. So we'll leave it at that for now, and then we'll go back to your other links, Maria.
You forgot to mention the built-in 3D scanner.
Yeah.
Oh, you did.
Oh, well, that's to do with that's part of the projector system on top. Yeah,
yes, it's got everything. You can put a little object there on the keyboard, and we'll scan it in.
Yeah.
Well, into your virtual world.
It's just a different, it's a whole different metaphor for interfacing, and I love it. It looks super cool. The only drag, I think, is that it has a certain Microsoft operating system installed in it. But we won't go there, will we?
I can live with that. I'm okay with that.
Yeah.
The other drag is the price tag. It's $1,900.
Ooh.
I would pay that for 3D scanning to bring stuff in.
If
I had the money.
That's going to come, but
Yeah, but that's just it's the new kid on the block, and so the price is going to be high.
Yeah.
And if you look at it as another, for instance, the Wacom tablets that you can get that now you can draw on just direct on the screen, like you can on an iPad, except the resolution is way better and the sensitivity is way better for serious art. And those started off around $2,000 and are now down are under 1,000. Not much under 1,000, but a little bit.
Well, I've got a Wacom tablet that I had years ago. And,
this is a different kind of Wacom.
No. I know what you're talking about. And at the time, it was a major investment, but I can now go around the corner to PC World and get the equivalent for next to nothing. These things come down. If as a type, if it takes off in the public's imagination as a new type of desktop computer, I'm sure the next range will come down in price. And actually, when you compare $2,000 with the cost of a top of the range Mac desktop, it's not that much different.
Oh well, it's actually less than top of the range Macs, but the top of the range Mac is the cylindrical one, and those are really aimed at at major work producers and video and that sort of thing.
So I should get one for Christmas, right?
Yeah. I want one for Christmas. Can't afford that though. Oh well. Yeah. It looks great, and I'm sure that this time next year, there'll be you better get them for near 1,000 or something. That's just the way it goes. If it takes off, I could, it's quite possible something like this could end up on the shelves and people think it's too strange and not take to it. But I think it looks great. Where they got the name Sprout from?
They wanted to sound cute. No, you know what?
I keep thinking of the vegetable and things sprouting out of the ground.
Cute little green thing that you love because it's so cute and growing. But I would pay that much money just to get rid of the mouse because way back when, before they had mice, I was angry that we had to start using a mouse because I didn't want to take my hands off the keyboard. So now we're going back to that, and I think that sounds wonderful.
Yeah, well, we're used to it too with the iPads. We can pull up a virtual keyboard. Or an Android pad even. We can pull up the virtual keyboard and, we just do everything with our hands.
The problem is that the way I have my monitors set up, they're actually out of my reach. My hands don't go up there. And the other nice thing about a mouse is that you can get really fine-grained control, which you can't do with a finger. So that's why I can't use like Windows 8 or something, and why Windows programs have to be reconfigured to work on tablets. Is because your finger's so much wider than than the tip of an arrow, a mouse pointer.
Well, I'm the same. I mean, I use these days. I do mostly everything I need except for video and stuff on the iPad. But believe it or not, I'm hooked with a stylus. I never use my fingers except maybe to pinch. I have to put down the stylus to pinch something bigger, or do something like that. But it's actually I hold it like a notepad with a pen. And the stylus unfortunately doesn't paint with fine details, so I don't like using the painting software because they do make ones now that are pressure sensitive Bluetooth and have more control. But just over here on my desktop now, over the years my mouse is another attachment to me. I've got the rhythm of the right click, the left click, the mouse wheel, the center press, the center scroll, everything operates with my mouse. I never go to a menu.
I would throw it right out the window.
I just right click everything to do everything I want, and I configure the whole system to work that way.
That's cool.
Yeah.
The other thing is, especially when you have stand-up monitors, is that you want for long hours of working, you want to be able to rest your wrists. And with a mouse or a trackpad, you can do that. With a touch screen, if the screen is standing up in front of you, you have to raise your arms to do anything, and that's really inconvenient when you have to go back and forth to a keyboard. Obviously, if you're on a pad, your hands are right on it anyway, so that's not a problem. But with a stand-up monitor, the way the HP Sprout is, that causes some usability issues. So I would be interested to see how that is actually used in practice.
Yeah, I kind of assumed that most of the usability functionality is on the flat surface.
I'm wondering if we should let Maria move on because I know we need to wrap here real soon.
Okay.
Yes,
4 minutes.
Indeed. Yeah.
4 minutes. So talk fast.
I forget we start with our interruptions at the beginning. My clock here is reading a different figure. Okay, Maria.
Yeah. So, I don't know if you guys heard or not, but OpenSim creations went down,
Oh, yeah.
And Vanish, who runs it, was forced to drop out of the OpenSim conference as well. And so OpenSim Creations was a great site for people to post free Creative Commons licensed content. And now we have several alternatives popping up to kind of take the place of it. The one that's in the lead right now is the free 3D group in Google+. We also have a couple of new websites that went up that don't really have much content in them yet, and they look that they might be a little difficult to use. So those people are trying. But that OpenSim community looks like a good place to keep an eye out on for new content, and to see if a new site pops up. People will probably mention it here as well.
I did actually see in, I think on Google Plus and also in a couple of the forums, posts from people saying, I'm planning to start up, this site. I haven't got anything at the moment, but it's going to be an alternative to...
Yeah, those are the two links that I posted.
Yeah.
Those are those two links, yeah.
Yeah, the more the merrier, really, yeah.
The more the merrier. People will post up different approaches, and whichever one kind of makes sense, people will gravitate to and start using, hopefully. Okay, I would like to see Kitely Market offer freebies. Right now they don't. So it's also an opportunity right now, since OpenSim Creations is down, and if you want to launch a marketplace, you have a window of opportunity right now to create one that allows people to distribute freebies. And then you can, put the paying stuff in there later as you build it out. But the freebies will attract a lot of people and will give you a heads up over Kitely, which does not allow freebies.
That's a very good point, because you can do both, and I'm sure even Kitely would get a bigger audience if they were known to actually be a site for freebies as well as paid stuff.
Right, exactly.
Good
now,
point.
I believe the Second Life Marketplace does have freebies.
I think they charge $1 linden.
No,
freebies,
not always.
But yeah,
no, there are plenty of freebies. Sure.
Okay, there are still actual freebies.
A lot of demos.
Yeah, they do. Yeah, I suppose they've always had to, really. So.
Yep.
And
so Kitely does offer a demo option, but they don't offer a free option. I would love to see actual freebies.
Probably
on a market
as they get more people. They're still starting out, right?
Kitely, yeah. And I think that they were when they were starting out, there was so there's already a freebie site, and they didn't want to devalue the content on their marketplace. So from the merchant's perspective, I can see why you might not want to be competing with a lot of freebies. But from a customer perspective, if I have a choice between two marketplaces, one of which only has paid stuff and another one which has paid stuff and free stuff, I will want to check out the second one first, because if a freebie is good enough for what I need, well, why not I just grab the freebie?
Oh, I do that with Second Life Marketplace.
Exactly.
I buy some stuff, but if I'm searching for something, I'll find the cheapest first, and cheapest is usually free.
Yeah.
And but if it's crap and I have to buy something that's better quality, then fair enough.
Yeah, and for merchants, they get more traffic, so they get more people overall looking at their stuff. And for some people, the freebie thing isn't good enough, and they'll want something unique or something different or something better, like you were saying, and they'll be willing to pay for it. All right, and that is it for me.
Wonderful. Well, this has actually been quite we've got a whole lot in here today, and it's actually just been us, and it's been a relatively short show, although we are pushed for time today. So that's absolutely great. Now, for those of you watching live, you probably noticed a few hiccups near the beginning of this show. That means that, it is late here anyway. The YouTube version of the show and the version that's latest will be up sometime tomorrow, but I suspect I might have to do a bit of cropping and joining sort of things quickly just to get rid of the glitches.
It won't take you long.
I can do it. Yeah, Petlove is about to send me a Dropbox copy of the whole shebang, complete with goofs, and I'll just crop out the goofs. So I'll say you said at the top of the show, which was a goof in itself, of course. I can't actually tell you what will be happening next weekend. We will at some point do a show, maybe even just a short one. But the this Saturday spot that we're filming now will actually be taken up at the Open Sim Community Conference. So I think we will probably do something either before or after, and get that up for you. Just a quick roundup or something.
Maybe we can film at the Littlefield party.
There's an idea.
Possibly. I mean, it's sort of it's a matter of timing, really.
But that assumes that Mal is still functional at that hour of night.
yeah, that's another reason.
You got to figure 8 p.m. Second Life time is actually 4 in the morning, where he is. That's a little past.
Yeah. And CB, I'm just looking at you, going back to the agenda. Actually, I do notice that the agenda on Saturday sessions are actually at about 2:30, so we might be able to stretch this and just come live about an hour later next week, if everybody's not too exhausted. We will see, but we'll let you know anyway. Keep watching the Twitter feed, twitter.com/Malburns. That's the one where I paste. Hey, going live now. Wake up, folks. Anyway, of course, if you want to watch this show in replay, it will be up shortly, within a day or so, at YouTube. But you can find a good high-resolution copy to replay at your heart's desire via slartist.com. That's SLARTIST.com, and that will work on your iPad, your Android pad, your TV, your desktop, and wherever you want to play it. Really, it all works with HTML5 embedding. So you can see it there, until our past shows too. Right, wrap up time. Petlove, anything you'd like to wrap with?
Go to OSCC next weekend.
Indeedy.
On Friday of UTV, we'll be live streaming an event that that goes across real life and the virtual boundaries. We'll be promoting and streaming a real life magazine launch, Maniera magazine in Washington, D.C. And there will be a build and the same launch in Second Life, and both sides of reality will have their own TV screen and get to see each other and interact. So that'll be fun.
Oh, that'll be very cool. And now Maniera, I'm familiar with, but it's currently on Issue. Yes, I publish it on the blog sometimes. I think it's on Issue. But it's actually just been an online magazine with focus on Second Life.
Well,
so
then they must be launching their real life version. Then I didn't know they had a virtual version. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, there's been a virtual version for some time. Oh, wonderful news!
So that'll be interesting.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And that's it. That's all. Well, let me see. Let me think. Slartist and a View, of course. You need to always go there to watch the latest videos. I'll stop.
Oh, the other thing I will mention, of course, which is related to this, the competition entries for University of Western Australia's Transcending Borders competition is now over. So if you want to preview all the entries for that, you can go to slartist.com and look up the section for UWA.
That's right.
My best count, I've downloaded them all to do my judging with. At the best count, I think it was about 30. As usual with these things, quite a lot came in the last few days. But there's quite a few interesting ones, and I won't comment. I've got to look at them together and judge, haven't I? But if you're interested in that sort of stuff, you can actually now find them all online, and maybe you can do private judging your own and see how that matches the real judges panel choices when the results come around, which I guess is probably in a month or so's time.
That's a 10,000 Linden prize, isn't it?
Oh, it's a big prize, yes.
Yeah.
It's the prize on that competition has been getting bigger and bigger with every thing.
And not only the machinimas, but you can also judge the 3D art that is the other side of this event. Right?
Yes,
Did
yes.
you say that already? Yeah, you didn't say
no,
that, right?
No,
Okay.
I didn't today, actually. Yeah, that is true as well. If you go look up University of Western Australia on your map Inworld, you will find they've got whole regions full of 3D art exhibits, and all the latest submissions are on exactly the same theme, transcending borders.
Yep.
And that is judged separately. But yes, the
A lot
3D
of
art
really
competition
neat things
as
up there.
well. Yeah. Yeah, if you want to get sort of some of the offbeat and different stuff in Second Life, and you're fed up of just seeing another sim and another location, go over there and actually just look at some of there's some virtual statues, and just if it can be 3D, the artists are great at it. Some things just defy description, really. Yeah, as virtual art does. Not possible in real life.
Yeah, where'd they go? Whatever happened to them? That was a group.
Bettina.
That was Bettina Tizzy.
Right.
And I think she reached a point where she needed to move on to do other things.
Okay.
And elected to disband the group. She's still around.
Yeah, she is still around. I'm constantly in touch with her on the networks in her real life identity, so I'm not going to reveal that. But yeah, she's still doing things, and she does mention NPRL and things quite a lot still. I just don't think she's running the Inworld build that she used to, but she's still very much around and interested, shall we say?
Yeah, no, she quite. I recall she very intentionally pulled the plug on it. Because she knew she couldn't. She needed to do other things. Didn't want it to slide into something
less than what it was. Yeah.
Something less than what it was. Yeah.
Because it was extraordinary.
Yeah.
Okay.
Who knows? Maybe she'll be back. I don't know. Right. So yeah, that's that. Okay, Maria. Anything else you forgot?
My email is maria@hypergoodbusiness.com. If you want to help out at the conference this week, doing any write-ups, previews, or anything like that, get in touch with me. It could be the beginning of a beautiful, new, underpaid career as a technology or virtual reality journalist.
Yay.
Very good for your resume.
Okay. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, these days, yeah. You want to get started early covering virtual reality, so when a boom comes, boom, you're there.
Yeah.
Good.
And she's got you under contract by then. Of course, most of the feeds today seem to think it's still Halloween too, so I can get away with all this sniping around. I published a whole load of machinima this morning. I think about 20 films in all, and they were all they're all records.
Yeah.
Well, they're all, apart from a few new art ones, which are great. They almost seem to be all recordings of Halloween performances last night.
Happy Hunting's Halloween show was not its usual extravaganza this year. So if y'all want to see something non-Halloween to take a break from it all, it's Happy Hunting number 78 on A View in Slartist and Metaverse Week in Review. Right?
Yep. And that's the one from 2 days ago. I posted it. It's also on the Tumblr blog now and in the Twitter stream. So,
that's awesome.
Yeah. And of course, you just filmed another one.
I filmed 2 of them today because I can't film next Saturday because I'll be working at OSCC. So 79 and 80 are both sitting waiting to be edited, along with about 6 or 8 other films, which is one of the reasons I can't work for you every week. It's crazy. It's crazy.
Yeah, I can imagine.
Okay, well, and in the interest of in the interest of my last words and getting us off the air, only 10 minutes late.
The best,
the requested time. Just a reminder to all of those in the U.S. of A. that you need to set your clock back an hour tonight, and you get either that or you get to sleep in an hour tomorrow, and it'll be an hour earlier than you think it is all day until it gets to be mid-afternoon.
Stop! I'm getting dizzy again.
At which point it will seem like it's anyway.
Next week.
as I always say, congratulations, America. You finally caught up with the rest of the world. Right.
I wish they would just get rid of it. I really do. It's so stupid now.
I know a lot of people think sometimes should just be abandoned, but anyway, it would be.
Oh well.
Yes.
Okay.
Anyway,
Okay. Time for the wrap. I'd like to thank everybody here today. As always, my thanks to Petlove Petshop. Thank you, Pets.
You're very welcome.
And thank you to Maria Korolov. Thank you, Maria.
Thank you, Mal, for having me. It's always a joy.
And thank you, as always, to Tara. Thank you, Tara.
My pleasure.
And, as always, thank you to myself as well.
Thank you to you. That's right, Mal.
So, I would like to wish you good morning, good afternoon, good night, or good tomorrow, depending on wherever and whenever you are. And we will return. Have a good week, everybody.